Well, welcome. My name is Jack Kotz, and I represent the our World Committee, a part of the Sandcastle and, of course, the Community Association. And I also represent the Kiawah Island Conservancy. Shawneen Hutchinson and I put this program together, and we settled on the title, Kiawah Island 1974 to 2014, 40 years of designing with nature. And in a minute, I'll tell you why we chose that title. We all know this is an incredibly beautiful island, that many of us are here because of that beauty and the way in which it was so carefully developed and nurtured. That careful development is not an accident, and the events that have brought us to this point are very interesting. A few months ago, Sean and I contacted Mark Permar, one of our speakers, and a person many of you already know, about the possibility of having this event. Mark said something we had never thought of. This is the 40th anniversary of the modern era for Kiawah Island. As a community, we can have a friendly discussion and debate of what has taken place during this time period, but the foundation of a way of thinking set forth in the environmental assessment, as well as numerous other disciplines, has always been a significant differentiator when compared with other coastal new communities. This is a very profound statement, I think. And buried in there are two words that are really important: the environmental assessment. There was produced an environmental inventory of Kiawah Island, and I'm going to hold it up. I suspect that very few people in this room even know about this or have ever seen it. This is a massive document, and really this is the centerpiece of this program today. And that's what we want to tell you about, and all of the things that came out of that and how it got developed. Well, what's the history behind this document? In 1950, C.C. Royal purchased Kiawah from the Vandrost estate for the timber rights, and in 1954 began the development of summer homes, a few of which are still over here on Eugenie Avenue. In 1974, the heirs of C.C. Royal sold Kiawah to the Kuwait Investment Corporation, and that group brought in another of the participants in today's event, Frank Brumley, as head of development. Shortly after, this group commissioned the environmental inventory to assess our environment before beginning the development. It was done by the Environmental Research Center of Columbia, South Carolina, and released in 1975. One of our speakers, John Dean, is the co-author of that study, along with William Campbell, who was deceased, died a few years ago. The 1975 inventory contains a wealth of information about the state of the island in the latter part of the 20th century. In fact, when I've showed this to other environmental scientists, they say it is a valuable and unique document because it inventories a barrier island before it began its development. Because the report is regarded as an important part of what sets us apart from other barrier island communities, and because it contains so much information of interest and use to our residents, the Environmental Science Committee of the Conservancy has reviewed this report over the past several years, and we would now like to pass on some of the things that we've observed. And the purpose of this meeting today is to tell you a few of the things that are in that report. A summary of our review is on the Conservancy website, but there is a summary of the summary in the most recent issue of Naturally Kiawah, this one that you should have just gotten very recently in your mailbox, and inside is a several-page article about the review. Let me, before we get deep into our program, let me tell you a little bit about how this is organized. First, I've asked Jimmy Bailey and Charlie Lipuma to make a few remarks. And then I would like to do about 10 minutes to show you some of the things that came out of that report. And there are a couple of astonishing developments that you never knew about. It's a tease. And then we have two speakers, John Dean and Mark Permar. And then we'll have a very short break just to reorganize ourselves a bit. And we'll have a panel discussion with John and Mark Permar and Frank Brumley. Every time we talk to Mark or to John Dean, they said, "I don't remember that, but you really should talk to Frank." So we decided that would be a wonderful addition, and we're very happy that he's here today. We'd like to make sure that you have a chance to ask questions, and since it's such a large audience, isn't it wonderful? We'd like to have you write those questions out so that we can cover as many as possible and remove redundancies and so on. So we'll have some cards. You may have already picked one up, and you can write out a question on that. Before I go any further, at these events, I always get very excited, and I forget to thank everybody that was involved, so let me do that. I want to thank particularly the people here at the Sandcastle. They go out of their way all the time. The Our World Committee has had wonderful programs. The board of the Conservancy is one of the best things I've ever done, and I want to thank all of you for all of your work and support for this event. So thank you very much.